Everybody who know me know I worship the ground them kids walked on. Maybe I asked the wrong people for help. But they don't know everything that I did wrong.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I want to talk about this upsetting news story that broke a while back out of Detroit, Michigan, involving a 29-year-old homeless single mother named Tateona Williams, whose 2 children perished on February 10th of this year from carbon monoxide poisoning in the van that they were living out of for 3 months. And while the mother's initial claims may have stirred sympathy for her and the loss of her children, the subsequent revelations about her character demand a critical examination of how her selfishness and the Sisterhood code of silence led to the demise of her own kids. The shocking details noted in the autopsy concerning the children's physical appearance pointed to child neglect and abuse of her children prior to their demise from carbon monoxide poisoning in that van. And at first, they thought it was hypothermia that took the children's lives, but later on they found out it was carbon monoxide. Also, in the autopsy, it was revealed that the 9-year-old and the 2-year-old were very underdressed for the frigid weather. The 9-year-old son had a head lice infestation that was out of control, and the 2-year-old had rotten teeth. What kind of mother would allow her kids to go this far with untreated medical conditions and go outside for any length of time without having the proper clothing? It's definitely not a decent mother with enough brain cells to know that doing so would harm the kids and also raise alarm bells with her neighbors and the people around her. There is a timeless saying that is tried and true, and that it is, just because you are poverty stricken does not mean you have to be dirty. Because most mothers who care about their children know this, and they take care of their children, and they make sure that they are clothed and fed properly, and they are not in danger. So obviously this mother was not thinking that at all. And according to the Instagram news report from journalist Jessica Duknap, she tested positive for THC the day her children was pronounced deceased. And if you don't know what THC is, it is a compound or a chemical in marijuana that gives you the high. Basically, this woman was so high and disoriented, mostly all the time, I can guess, that she was seeing unicorns in clouds, not lucid enough to check on her 2-year-old anytime during the night to find out that she wasn't breathing. Which is another issue, because I read in a news report online that she became aware of her kids not breathing at noon that day and not in the morning. Why did it take her so long to find out that her son and her daughter was not breathing? I mean, noon, that's crazy. I think I know the answer though, and that it might make me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but her actions are just not normal. I think what happened is that she discovered her children not breathing and already gone in the morning when she woke up from her stupor, and she didn't know what to do. She panicked, and she didn't get around to calling or doing anything until noon, because there's no school that I've ever come across or have ever heard of where you get your kids ready for school at noon. I think she just, again, panicked, and she called a family member, and they just told her, look, take the kid to the hospital immediately. And she didn't even call the EMT, which is crazy. It's mind-blowing, with her claiming that she is a CNA and has been a CNA since she was 17 years old. So that made no sense for her to get in a vehicle and fight traffic and get to the hospital and go that route. And I think it was just to create a spectacle, to make it seem like she was in a nightmare scenario, discovering her child spontaneously not breathing, to cover her tracks by choosing to transport her child by herself and of her own means to divert attention away from that van. Her secret shame that she didn't want nobody to know. Her cousin even kind of told on her.
She was scared of what the world would think of her, so she did privately.
What was she ashamed of? There's plenty of single mothers all over the place that are making news, coming out online, social media, saying that, hey, I'm living out in my car. Me and my kids need help. hey, we're opening up a GoFundMe, please help. The only way that would make sense is if she was a boss chick, a woman that was making six figures, fell from grace with her kids after bragging and gloating online that she's doing it big and she got everything figured out, to fall from grace and then have to come out publicly and admit that she's destitute now and she squandered all of her money. That's the only way I would think that would be extremely embarrassing and a blow to her ego. Because we've seen all kinds of single mother homeless ladies on the side of the road and in the parking lots of Walmart, on the curb, just everywhere you can think of, with a sign begging for money with their kids right there next to them. They're showing their face and everything publicly for the whole neighborhood and the whole metro area to see. That's more embarrassing than to go to social services and say, hey, I can't go any further. I've been living out of my van with my kids and they're missing out on so much and they need medical attention and they are in bad shape. That right there is a good reason. And then add on the fact that she never wanted to be a mother in the first place, treating her kids like it's a babysitting job and not like that is children that she birthed out of her own body. Where's the motherly instinct? I've seen teen mothers realize that they have to put on their big girl boots because once you have a child, playtime's over. If you weren't smart enough to use birth control at that time when you had the opportunity, you're gonna have to grow up pretty quick. But no, she's addicted to marijuana and that is her vice. She prioritized that instead of prioritizing her kids. And that's a big shame that I've seen women go through. It is a shame for a woman to say, you know what, I never wanted my kids, but because I want the benefit of having the children and the check and the wig and the social services and the kickbacks, I'm not going to give my kids up for adoption or allow their father to have full custody. And that's just shows the selfish nature of these type of women. Her marijuana use being exposed, her neglecting and abusing those children, having them in that van all that time in the deplorable state that they were in, not having proper food, clothing, and shelter. And then on top of that, her baby daddies finding out and filing for full or joint custody and putting her on blast in a family court. That would be a good reason for her to hide her condition and not want anybody to know, and resort to bizarre tactics in order to divert attention. And the grandmother and the cousin are complicit in this sisterhood debacle because they ran to the media to help her try to control the narrative, to falsely construct a sympathetic picture of a poor, downtrodden black single mother pushed to the edge of society by her baby daddy, the Detroit Social Services, the homeless task force. And I feel like it was diabolical to do that, knowing that it didn't matter who failed her on that particular day. The buck stops with her and who was the guardian over those children, that led up to her son and her daughter losing their lives to an incompetent and reckless act, leaving them in that van somewhere in a garage by themselves where they met their demise. So she don't want anybody to focus on that, and no amount of trauma dumping on camera is going to take away that reality. Her attempt to turn the nightmare scenario into one that would shield her from public ridicule fell flat on its face, especially with the children's father coming forward, which was brave, to tell his side of the story and destroy the false narrative. If he was such a terrible father and didn't want anything to do with his children, he would have took a page out of her book and just stayed in the shadows like she did the entire time. He wouldn't have even bothered to try to show his face, because most men who don't want to have anything to do with their children don't even want to show their face at their kid's birthday party, let alone do an interview after being slammed and disparaged by his baby mama and wrapped with grief from losing his children to a senseless demise that could have been prevented. Even the mayor of Detroit dog whistled within his statement that she didn't seek out every avenue that she needed to try to get her kids off of the streets. And when he said plain and simple that she could have went to the police or fire station to get some help on any given night, she would not have been turned away. Like, who would do that? And the newscasters reporting on the story backed him up. and even said with a sprinkle of disclaimer that they're not disparaging her or trying to blame the victim, they still had to address the fact that there are several places that homeless people, especially single mothers, can go to get some help, like a church or different organizations that are set in place. She did none of that. She just claimed she called a couple of times back in November and called it a day. Strong and independent, right? And as a whole, it just makes Black single mothers look so bad when you have these types of women who purposefully do everything wrong just so that they can claim that they are the victim in the scenario and are not given the right opportunities to rise to the occasion to do right by their children and improve the situation long term. When in actuality, they are pursuing vices and activities that are destructive to their children's well-being, protection, and safety. It's disgusting to me. The grandmother, oh my goodness. The grandmother seemed totally clueless and out of her mind, and the cousin is culpable for what went down. They should have been telling this woman that calling a few times a couple of months ago is not enough to get the help they need. She needed to force the city's hand by going down to the offices and at least letting them know how tough it is to get through to anybody on the phone and to get some advice on what to do next. Maybe even have an emergency impromptu interview with somebody or file a complaint at the office. None of that was done, and the Sisterhood did and said nothing. And it was on purpose, because I'm sure that if she was paranoid from being drug induced, that it is a deterrent enough to know that if you solicit the help of these services, that you're going to be drug tested. And if it comes back positive, it's going to trigger CPS to possibly take away your children, which is a mother's worst nightmare, whether you are an actual bad parent or you are mistaken to be a bad parent. If she legit wanted to get some help and was getting stonewalled, she would have showed up to one of the offices in person. That's the bottom line. Even for a regular business, a person like me and you, and we're not trying to get social services, we know that it can be a terrible time getting help over the phone. We know that eventually we're gonna have to put down the phone and start carving out time in our schedule to go down to these offices, like a utilities office to get an emergency extension to keep our lights on, or something like going down to your car dealership to pick up a part. It's as simple as that. We don't just say, oh, I'm throwing up my hands, nobody's helping me over the phone. I mean, forget this crap. That just doesn't really happen if you really want some help. Which is why I feel so strongly that she avoided coming clean to her baby daddy and leveling with him about their situation. But again, I understand why, because if you are abusing substances and you are inflicting abuse and neglect on his children, he's going to have enough evidence to use against you in court. She also purposefully turned her nose up to the shelter system, claiming that they didn't have enough proper beds for her and her kids to stay together for some reason, even though laying on a mat and being out of the cold would have been good enough for the circumstances. But no, she ignored all of these avenues to get her kids to safety because she didn't want to be a mother to begin with. And she wanted to focus and prioritize her smoking ganja and partying. Take a look at this clip at her partying days after her children passed away. This is a Facebook live stream that was leaked to the public that tells you everything you need to know about this woman's character and how she felt about her kids once she knew that she was free and clear from being arrested. And it seems like she's celebrating to me. And some people might look at this clip and say that there's no way that this clip is from this mother in this year after she lost her children, cutting up and acting a fool like this. And I totally understand that, because it is not normal for a mother that has just lost a kid to be doing this. I understand that. However, when you look at what her hairstyle was in the interview a day after her children passed away and the other interviews, she definitely had disheveled braids in her hair. Then she has a neat bob wig on at the children's funeral on February the 20th. And then again, the same wig or hairstyle in March when she was gifted the house. So you can put two and two together and you can come to the proper conclusion on that. And the only encouraging thing that I can see that has happened already is that, according to published reports that I saw online from the news channel's website, is that she no longer has custody of any of her children. And I don't know if this is a permanent thing, but it was mentioned in the media reports that CPS is working to take her kids away permanently. They have knowledge that she is a threat and a danger to her children, so she doesn't deserve to have custody of those children. And there is a similar case that I want to mention at this time, that another homeless family consisting of a dad, a mother, and a 2-year-old child that was evicted in September 2023 that got sick from carbon monoxide poisoning days after the eviction.
Just people in a vehicle on Edam Road. First responders conducted life-saving efforts until they were relieved by emergency medical providers from American Medical Response. All 3 were taken to the hospital. The toddler did not survive.
We don't expect this to be of any kind of criminal investigation at all. So there's that. And there's no risk to the public. There's no reason to be concerned other than for the loss to this family and of this small child.
They decided they were going to try to live in the vehicle, in that garage, until they figured out what they were going to do. And when maintenance was going to, show up and start working on the apartment, that it was going to buy them a little time. But lo and behold, him, his wife, and the 2-year-old got exposed to carbon monoxide poisoning, running their vehicle like Miss Williams, and they got exposed to carbon monoxide. The 2-year-old did not make it. The mother and father did eventually. And although the father was responsible for putting his family in that situation, he was not arrested. And he was not held accountable. And as you heard from the report, the deputy made it plain and clear that they had no intention of charging this man with reckless endangerment or child endangerment, basically because he suffered enough, causing the death of his own child, and he's already racked with guilt and shame, and it's punishment enough, I guess. So the same thing I think is going to happen to Miss Williams. Spoiler alert. And she's going to get off. She's not going to get any jail time because of the same reasons. And what's absolutely confusing and mind-boggling to me is that there are parents, guardians, and caretakers that get jail time off top when they cause the demise of children in hot cars. What's the difference between an incompetent parent like Miss Williams leaving their children too long in a vehicle, running in a garage with carbon monoxide gas building up, taking her kids out, and a hot car with hot weather taking a child out? I don't see a difference. I think it is extremely backwards. Who's to say that a demented person won't try to use this situation to stage an accident and take out a child for life insurance purposes? I mean, it's crazy. Dads who have an incompetent or neglectful baby mother needs to try to get custody of these kids if they are being cared for by a woman like Miss Williams, being under the influence of a selfish sisterhood like Miss Williams. I've seen countless body cam videos of mothers leaving their children in vehicles while they go run and get some takeout, or go shoplift from Dillard's, or gamble at the casino. These women move in insidious ways where they go to great lengths to try to lie their behinds off to manipulate police officers into thinking that they are normally good mothers that has made a bad momentary decision at the expense of their children's safety. There are a growing number of fathers who are willing to stand up against maniac mothers to win custody of their children, like this guy here. And they get all the evidence they possibly can get, and they just go for it. I happen to know a few of them that are in my family. These are good fathers who knew what they were up against, like the gentleman here who played 3D chess against his immature baby mama. Take a look at this.
I was in prison. I'll be honest with you. I did five years in prison. I was incarcerated in 2006, and I came on 2021. But since that, all type of DCFS cases, all type of warrants, since I was in prison and everything. BSC.
So
she's homeless. I mean,
we're going to have to figure out a way, because the way she's acting, we might have to handcuff her and put her in a car.
And like I said,
just so you can come get
please do not let her go back in there with us.
We're not going to. That's not going to happen.
Can you help me calm her down?
He told me I gotta give her to him.
Can you help calm her down for me?
What did you say? What happened?
So we have a court order signed by the judge that the child goes with him. It's signed by the judge.
What judge?
Marion,
here if he has the baby? Why is he still here if he has the baby?
But they found a child with a bag of dope next to them and a pistol. Understand, life happens. I was incarcerated right before my 18th birthday and was released right before 24th. I am now a business owner, homeowner, car owner, and an amazing father. I take pride in the man I am today. People do change, and never ever put my mistakes on her mother's or her mother's mistakes on her. My daughter is amazing and will be everything me and her mother wasn't. So Buddy went to jail pretty young, so I guess he just had the baby right before. But that's how it should be. It should go to the best parent.
Let's get into the realness. We got a lot of moms also that have fathers that do want to be dads, but they're so vindictive and bitter with the dad that they'd rather their son fail than have the father in the child's life.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I've had conversations with moms. I'm like, where the daddy at? I'll make contact with the dad. Dad say, you know, I live in North Carolina or I live in this city, but she never wanted me. They'd have moved on, got kids of their own with their new wife or whatever like that. She never want me to see him. I'm like, mama, send that boy to go stay with his daddy. He don't need the Extra Voice program. He needs his dad. Send him with his father. What are you doing besides sitting up here complaining about you doing it by yourself? It's like moms have this new thing now where they proud. It's like they have to say, I'm doing it all by myself and I'm trying and I love my child, and put them on Facebook and pretending you was a parent at graduation and they turned out to be some terrible person because you was too proud to keep their father in their life. I've run into that so many times. Just send the child to stay with his father. You don't need him. You don't need to be trying to raise him by yourself. Send him with his dad because he needs his actual father. He don't need somebody trying to get to play father. He needs his real father. But because they are so bitter, and the court system, which I hate, benefits mothers more than fathers who want to be dads.
The mother, a lot of times, she tries to do everything herself. She'll take things out. She'll wear her emotions on her sleeve. She may badmouth the father or take it out on the child. I don't feel good. I had my child's mother one time, just one weekend, she was just like, I don't feel like letting you see her this weekend. I don't feel like letting you see her this weekend. Just because she just felt like that. She just probably got upset one weekend. Women make up rules as they go. And it's all about how she feels. She's loyal to her feelings, but her feelings change daily. But that hatred towards the baby daddy, like, she has to have some serious life changes.
And shout out to JR Wisdom. His channel is great. It is a situation where he has lived experience in, and he knows what it's like to try to get custody of his children. And he had a lot of good things to say. So go and subscribe to his channel if that's something that you're interested in. And I'd like to see this done more, where dads step up to the court system and take charge of the situation. Because at the end of the day, the children's well-being and their childhood must be top priority. Parents are the first and the last line of defense to ensure that their children grow up without mental baggage, scars, and trauma that a lot of kids have to deal with in childhood. They are worthy of being protected and loved to the fullest extent because they didn't choose to bring themselves into this world, whether the pregnancy was planned or not. Years from now, the children will look back at how vigilant their father was in exposing wrongdoing and taking action. And it will make the son or the daughter know that they're good dads out here. They just need to advocate for themselves, tap into the resources available to them. And if the man in the body cam video that is an ex-con and a black man is subject to the same family court system and got in there and won, then other men who are facing a difficult situation with their baby mamas can have a victory too. Many people might look at this guy and at first glance just think he's a knuckle-dragging ex-con, but he came out on the good end of the situation because he applied pressure. At the end of the day, the sisterhood is gonna stick together no matter where you go. There's just gonna be a group of women who are allergic to accountability. And these women that were advising Miss Williams, they just kept her in a state of incompetence perpetually. And they probably told her things like, life ain't fair to black women, she's perfect, she's a child of God, nobody can judge her but the Almighty, and that everybody needs to stay out of her business because they haven't had her lived experience. You know, things like that. And this type of speech is intoxicating to incompetent women because it gives them permission to turn their conscience off and to have a false sense of security in the real world. And the children continue to suffer and get inflicted with childhood trauma. But Either way, I'm going to keep following up on this story just to see what the conclusion is and if she ever gets arrested. And that's all I have to say about the situation. Put your comment below if you have one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.